All right, 6 days away from opening day, GBU opening day special for the MLB. We're on Friday. Games start on Thursday. We have some cursed Mets fans in the house with us today, JD and Reese, aside from the terrible news we've gotten in the last 24. How are you guys?
Besides the devastating news and the absolute gut punch to the Mets, my day's been pretty okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, my day's been good because we got MLB the show now. But other than that, the MLB season is dwindling in excitement for me because DeGrom is real tough. But we move on, and hopefully Scherzer will start opening day because that's just a whole nother story too.
Yeah.
And, of course, my Yankees counterpart, Len. How we feeling going into 6 days away from opening day now?
Feeling good. Liking what we're seeing in spring training. So we'll see if it responds to actual games. So really excited.
Let's hope it does. So this episode, we're going to be bringing you our division winners, predicting all the divisions. We'll talk about each one with each other, what we think, and that'll be the real substance for this and our World Series matchup and champion. We talked about our awards in the last video. We've also been doing position rankings every day leading up to opening day. So you want to go check that out on Instagram at the GBU Pod or at just GBU Pod. But first, before we do all that, we've had some news with the Mets the last 24 hours. We know DeGrom is out for probably at least 2 months, we can say. Can't pick up a baseball for the next 4 weeks with a stress fracture somewhere in his arm, elbow. I didn't recognize the medical term for it, if it's elbow or shoulder. I think it's a shoulder, though.
It's shoulder.
And now possibly Max Scherzer dealing with a hamstring issue. That's per Carton Roberts. Buck Showalter also wouldn't commit to Scherzer on opening day, which definitely is odd when you have possible information, according to Evan Roberts, that he has a hamstring issue. So, JD, Reese, what's your thoughts on the outlook of this team? First, just without DeGrom, I don't want to get too much into the Scherzer until we know for sure. So we talk about that next week if it's happening, and we will, of course, know because opening day will have passed. What's your thoughts on DeGrom? Probably out until at least June 15th, I'd say.
Yeah, so I see my dad here already starting in the comments, and he has been saying DeGrom and Scherzer will not start 20 games, and pretty much every Mets hater has said that. So they are having a pretty good day, I'd say. This is bad. It really is bad. And realistically, the Mets made enough moves in the offseason to where they should be able to compete without him. They got Bassett, they got Scherzer. Obviously, they have Walker, Cookie, McGill is going to be good, I think. But without DeGrom, they're in trouble because the Mets are cursed. And while they should probably score runs and Scherzer should probably make 20 starts and pitch really well all year, and Bassett should probably pitch well all year, nothing ever goes right for us. So I'm expecting probably the worst. And I thought after spring training, DeGrom was sitting 90s. He was looking real good. It looked like he was having a lot of fun and just looked like he was feeling healthy and calm. And now, I mean, all the excitement for opening day is gone. DeGrom is out probably at least until late June, if everything goes well. And unfortunately, the Mets by then could be buried in the NL East because the way things always go, while they have a nice roster, they have good offense, something's going to go wrong. Someone else is going to get hurt. And the Mets will probably be sitting 500 in June where DeGrom may be able to come back. And who even knows if he comes back, because this guy, while he's the greatest pitcher on earth, he's just one of the best talents the sport's ever seen. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. 2015 to 2020, he made 20 starts every year. He was good, but now he's getting older. Last year, he didn't make any starts. He's had a lot of nagging injuries, and it's definitely worrisome. As a Mets fan, I'm sure Reese feels the same exact way.
Yeah. If I had one word to describe this, it would just be deflating. I've kind of been riding the high of Steve Cohen and Max Scherzer all season, riding into opening day, getting excited to see DeGrom and Scherzer come out. And now it kind of just reminds us Mets fans who we are. We have to remember we're still the Mets. We're cursed. I'm not sure how this season's going to go now. I just wanted to I also wanted to say that if the Mets are able to make the playoffs without DeGrom starting and he's healthy for the playoffs, I think they're probably the most dangerous team in the entire MLB.
No, that's
kind of what I'm setting my sights on as a Mets fan now, is him being healthy, maybe starting, JD, we talked about this, maybe starting 10 games, just getting in a groove, and then you bring him into the playoffs and you have the best 1-2 punch in the MLB by a long shot. So that's my hope, but that's my high hope.
That's the best case scenario, and that being the best case scenario means there's just no way it's going to happen because we always get fucked. So Yeah, it's really bad, and the Mets really should be competitive while he's hurt, but knowing them, someone else will go down and the offense won't hit. And I think though the one difference, the one thing that gives me hope, and yes, I'm still excited to watch Scherzer opening day. It's just very disappointing with the DeGrom news. I think Buck Showalter makes a difference. I think he can weather us through the storm. I just don't think they're going to catch Atlanta if DeGrom's out for half the year. So wild card, new playoff format in play still, obviously. The NL East is going to be tough to win, though.
Yeah, my first thought after the DeGrom injury, and we know he can't pick up a baseball for 4 weeks, was, well, now they're a pitcher away from having those rotation problems a pitcher injury away from having those rotation problems that we feared before adding Bassett.
Yep.
Now we think Scherzer might be out. I think even if Scherzer's out, though, there just isn't enough substance to make me think it's more than like 2 starts at the most.
Yeah.
But they, like I said, either way, now DeGrom out for 2.5 months, and best case scenario, now maybe if Carrasco or Walker or Bassett go down, which is always possible with pitchers, there is a real problem here with the Mets staff for the beginning of the season, which stinks because I was really looking forward to at least the first 2 games of the year watching DeGrom and Scherzer here just locally in New York. That would have been awesome. Scherzer's my favorite player of all time. But now it looks like we're not going to see either of them. So a question I want to ask you guys, and JD, I totally agree with you, but we'll talk more about winning divisions later. I'll say my points with the Braves and stuff. But I want to ask you guys, if DeGrom misses 4 or 4.5, 5 months here, and he's back for August and September, but it's kind of just too far gone and they can't get the division because something else went wrong, and he opts out of his contract, is there a long-term extension or even more than a multi-year extension waiting on the other side from the Mets?
That's the thing. I don't think he opts out if he doesn't. Does he opt out if he pitches this year?
I don't think
he doesn't throw anything. If he doesn't throw anything, he won't back out.
So, I mean, he can still get paid.
So say he throws, he's out for April, May, June,
and then
July. Comes
again
back after the All-Star break, and he's got a 1.7 for the last 2 months of the season. Can you give him $35 million a year for multiple years?
You just
can't.
Yeah, I mean, he's aging.
And I think
he's always getting older. It's hard.
I think he would know that too. So I definitely think there's still I definitely am leaning towards him opting out after this year either way, just because, I mean, that's going to be fascinating to watch, because if you're the Mets, I don't know what you do, because you can't lose DeGrom. He's your franchise player, but at the same time, it's not financially responsible to go out and give this guy $30-35 million a year when he hasn't pitched a full season in 2 years. And 2020, he pitched a full 60-game season, but there was nagging injuries too. So it's kind of been like a 2-year thing, and it's going to be tough to see. Like, I just don't think that Jacob DeGrom leaves the Mets, but it's an awfully fascinating scenario to see what happens after this year, because I am at a loss at what they would do if he opted out.
Someone will give him the money because
he's
absolutely.
Jacob DeGrom. If
he's
healthy,
DeGrom, and he's one of the few pitchers in the league that sells out a ballpark when he's pitching, when he's healthy. So someone will give him that money. I don't think it's smart for the Mets to do it if this keeps up, but we're a long way away from that conversation.
Hopefully he
see how the rest of this plays out.
Hopefully, if all goes well, he's chucking in July, and then by August, if the Mets are in the playoff race, this is a distant memory. That is best case scenario.
The hope. Yeah.
But like I said, nothing ever goes well for us, so we actually have to expect the worst.
Expect the worst, hope for the best. That's the motto as a Jets and a Mets fan.
There's an evident curse that happened with the 69 championships of the Mets and the Jets. It's just you cannot dispute it. Len, talk to me. Thoughts on the Yankees? Severino kind of bouncing between possibly injured, possibly healthy. Thoughts on our staff and the tough division. We'll talk about the tough division a little bit, but just thoughts in general of this roster going into the season. Playing Boston next week. Big opening series.
Yeah, I think the staff is a little bit concerning. I think they have a lot of depth, but I don't know if they necessarily have really a 2. And I think Severino, I know he pitched after he had the soreness, but I don't think we're ever going to see Severino be Severino again. So I think you look at a guy who's going to have a 4 ERA, and he's probably going to have at least 1 or 2 IL stints throughout the year. So I'm not really a fan of the pitching staff, and I've kind of over the last couple of weeks have really started to like their lineup. Actually, even though I really don't. I want LeMahieu to be a starter, but I think they will find him at bat somehow. So I'm really excited about the lineup, at least.
Yeah, me as well. All right, let's move into our division winners. So the substance of this video comes from us talking about who we think is going to win these divisions, who we think is going to win the World Series. We'll comment on each division. Let's start with the toughest one of all of them for us in the American League East. I want to hear who you guys have. First, JD, you get us started here with your American League East winner this year.
Yeah, and I definitely think I know for a fact that we're going to differ here because the AL East can go any 4 ways. I like the Rays again just because of what's happened the last few years. I think I take them until proven otherwise. It's not the flashy hot take because the Rays obviously they won 100 games last year. They were 40, I believe. They won 40 games in the 60-game season. So they've been good the last few years, and I just think even though their roster may not be the best on paper, it's hard to go against what they've done and Kevin Cash has done. And Cora's a great manager too, and the Yankees are great, and the Blue Jays are great. I just think the Rays are the pick here because, I don't know, they just do everything right, and it just seems like they're going to win 100 games again. But I know we're going to have a few different opinions here, so I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, Lenny, talk to me. Resident AL East fan with the Yankees, just like myself. Who do you got coming away with this division?
I have Toronto, and I have the Yankees coming close. I like Toronto, and I also a little like the Yankees compared to the Rays and the Red Sox. But I think Toronto, their lineup is just really that good. They have like 2 or 3 guys that can bat the 300 to 330, and I like a couple moves they've made in their rotation. I still don't like their bullpen, but I think they're the best team in the AL East.
And I think before you go here, I don't know what Reese has. I don't know what you have either, KB, but I think the general consensus here for some reason is we're all a little bit down on the Red Sox, and that doesn't even mean the Red Sox are going to have a terrible year. This division's so loaded, and they have Alex Cora, and he's going to, like, him alone, he's just such a big difference for them. They're going to win ball games, but just there's going to be one team I think left out.
We have 4 teams here that in any other division could be a 95 to 100 game winner, and it wouldn't surprise you. Yeah. But one of these teams is going to end with under 90 wins, in my opinion, just because of how loaded this division is. Mm-hmm. And someone's just going to be the one that fell behind and the head-to-head matchups, and it could be any of the 4 teams.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I'm with Big Lenny on this one. I got Toronto winning the division. That, like Big Lenny said, they're a great lineup on paper, and I believe they have arguably the best rotation in the division as well. They have some bullpen issues, but I really like the addition of Matt Chapman, Jose Barrios, so I think Toronto wins this. I think it's very close, and like we said, it literally can go 4 ways at any point. Injuries and coaching is really what it's going to come down to.
So for me, surprising that we have almost a 3 out of 4 agreement. I also have Toronto. My reasoning comes a lot in. I think that, first of all, whoever beats the crap out of Baltimore this year is going to have the best shot at winning this division.
Do beat up.
Yankees always do.
They do, but they didn't last year, so we'll have to see.
Every team is going to beat up on them.
Every team is, but who's that team that was last year's Yankees? That was the team that struggled a little bit. But my biggest reasoning for Toronto, and I'm going to come back to this more. Obviously, you guys touched on the lineup and everything, and I like their starting rotation also. But when you're playing half of your games against these division opponents at home, and Judge, Rizzo, half the Red Sox order can't play in Toronto, they have a huge advantage in these home games. And I think they can go on the road and easily beat any of these teams as well.
That's a great point.
So their home field advantage is not to be taken lightly this year because of the amount of players from opposing teams that can't go there to play. Let's move across the country here from right to left. AL Central, I'll get started. I have the White Sox. Last week I said I thought the White Sox were going to win the most games in the American League. They are my 1 seed when we talk about our playoff brackets later. So I go Chicago. Not much to be said. I don't think this is a great division. I think they have a lot of rebuilding teams in this division. And the White Sox just hit the crap out of the ball every year. Pretty good starting pitchers, pretty good bullpen. So I got Chicago all the way here.
Yeah, I'll follow you up, KB. I think it's also the White Sox. Now, I really like the Twins. I think the Correa signing is great. Buxton's healthy again. I think the Twins can maybe sneak in as a wild card, but I think the White Sox are just too talented top to bottom. I think they may even be the 1 seed in the AL. I like the Tigers. I like the Royals. I just think the White Sox are too good to lose this division. And now knowing them, they will be the 1 seed and probably lose 3 games in the playoffs and go out right away. So Big Lenny, I think I don't know. I think we were talking about who we were going to pick for this division. You have someone different than Chicago?
No, I got Chicago.
We were talking Minnesota. We were talking Minnesota.
Minnesota's a team that can hit.
Yeah,
I like and they might get Manaea or Montas. They're making moves. So, but I think Chicago is just all around just the best team in this division. Yeah. I think when it comes down to it, they're not better than any other teams in the AL. I don't really like the White Sox, but for the division wise, they'll win the division.
I think they definitely, going back to what happened last stream, KB had them as best record in the AL, I believe, and I think that could actually very much happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
That does not mean I think they're going to make the World Series. So.
I have them as the best record in the AL and getting swept in the first round by the Sixers.
Yeah, because that's how it usually goes for them, and they have a great team, and they just traded Kimbrel today for AJ Pollock. That seems to be more of a dump, but Kimbrel wasn't very good for them last year, and who knows? Pollock is not a bad outfield option.
Yeah.
So,
Reese, what do you got?
Yeah, so I got the White Sox too. They've never won back-to-back division titles. I think they're going to end up doing that this year. They won the division soundly last year, so I'm pretty confident they'll do it.
We're going to be in June, and the closest behind will be like Minnesota would be between like 7 games, and the rest will be like 20 games.
Yeah.
Let's move.
It's a weak division.
Let's move to the West. Probably the worst division in baseball, in my opinion, is the Central in the AL.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move to the West here. Lenny, who do you got? I got a surprise for this one. I think this could be a fun division here to talk about.
Oh, I got the Astros. I just don't until they get knocked down. I think they're going to keep winning that division. I like the Mariners, but the Astros with Dusty. I know they lost Correa, but I feel like they brought in some like kind of sneaky under the radar signings and moves.
They have a nice. They have a real nice shortstop prospect.
I think they do coming up. I believe they do.
I forget his name, but let's see.
They still have Bregman, Altuve, Brantley, Alvarez, and Kyle Tucker came on strong last year. So I really like them to win the division. So
is the shortstop? I've seen a lot of clips of him in spring training, and I think they believe he's a good option to replace Correa. I'll go, I have exactly what Big Lenny said written down. I said Astros until someone decrowns them. I just really believe that. The Mariners are fun. They added the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner. I don't know if he'll pitch. I don't know if he'll pitch to that. Again, I think the Mariners are fun, especially that run last year. They almost got in there. The Angels, I wish the Angels would make the playoffs, but they just have not done it recent. They haven't done it ever with Trout, and I don't think that happens again. Ohtani and Trout will be fun, but they'll win 80 games again. And the Rangers signed Simeon and Seager. I love those 2 signings. They locked up the middle of their infield for a long, long time, but they still have no pitching. So Astros, in my opinion, until someone decrowns them.
Yeah, JD, I'm with you. I'm on Houston here. Despite losing Correa, I mean, having a lineup with Altuve, Bregman, Brantley, Gurriel, Tucker, Alvarez, I mean, that's just a mash of a lineup. I don't think they get taken off of that division crown this year.
Yeah, so I'm going to play the role of the guy who's wrong because he's stupid and thinks that they're due to not win the division.
We welcome that take.
So, I mean, it's healthy for us to not go 4 for 4 here, right?
Yeah.
So, especially after that White Sox, no discussion really there. AL West, we have the Astros who won it the last few years. Oakland's always in the mix. By the way, I still do have the Astros in the playoffs, really close. They're my top wild card. So I have a close division finish. Mariners love their moves. The Rangers added 2 great middle infielders, so that's why I'm picking the Angels here to win this division.
Really
I think at some point
I would love
they got
to see
to
it
get
for
back
Trout.
to this. They got to get Trout into the playoffs.
Yeah.
A full year of Trout, a full year of Ohtani. If you can get Ohtani pitching. If you've been keeping up with their spring a little bit, Justin Upton's been like the best player in spring training. Maybe a possible little revival situation. I'm not banking on that. I think Houston's lost their 2 best players the last 2 off seasons with Correa and Springer. Altuve's great, Bregman's great, but Altuve and Springer always showed up in the big moments for them, as does Altuve. They're getting Verlander back. I have them as the 4 seed and the Angels as the 3. So really close division finish here. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping for a Trout MVP season and a fully healthy season because we haven't seen it in a little bit. But this is also a sneaky good division because the A's, I think, will be terrible this year without Melvin and they are selling everything. I don't think they're going to be good at all. But it should be an interesting one with the Mariners and the Rangers and the Angels trying to compete.
Trout definitely needs to be back in the playoffs, and that's like this is like the same conversation we run into with DeGrom. it's really criminal that these guys aren't in the playoffs every year. And unfortunately, I hope DeGrom is still pitching in the playoffs this year, but Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani have to get to the playoffs, even if it's not through the division. You got the extra wild card spot. Joe Madden and company, it's time to get in because it's
I think a year from now or 8 months from now, when we're looking at best value signings from the offseason, a healthy Noah Syndergaard could easily be that guy if he can help them get to the postseason. And I mean, Higgs, Justin Upton, wow. That was just a note to say I don't think Justin Upton's going to have a renaissance this year. But if he does, just know I was keeping up with his spring training. Let's move to the National League.
GBU's always first, KB. GBU's always first.
GBU's always first. National League, we'll go reverse order now. NL West, I have the Dodgers. I also have the Padres in the playoffs here. Really close division there for me. Dodgers came in second last year to the Giants, lost one less game. Dodgers won 106 games, though, last year, which is insane. I think that they'll just keep their success. I have them as the 1 seed and winning the NL West.
Yeah, I have the Dodgers. And they're just too good, and they added Freddie Freeman, and they just added Kimbrel. I mean, it's really unfair how good they are. I do like the Giants still. I think they'll digress because they just won an ungodly amount of games last year. They lost Buster Posey, which makes a difference. I mean, it might even make a difference for their pitchers. They lost Gausman. We'll see how the Giants do, but they were so good last year. I like them. I have them in a wild card spot, but the Dodgers are just too good. Like we're all 4 for 4, probably the Dodgers here. Yeah, Big Lenny Dodgers.
Yeah, I got the Dodgers. I think this is the best lineup. I think this is the best lineup of all time. I think this is a 110 to 120 win team.
We haven't seen a lineup like this since the 2017.
It's insane.
This lineup.
I think they're gonna rail. If they'll say, and if they can get Bellinger to be Bellinger, I mean, Jesus.
If they can get Bellinger to be his dad.
If they can get Bellinger to hit a baseball, because
literally.
Bellinger's got like 20 Ks and 25 at-bats in spring training.
Yeah, obviously I picked the Dodgers here. I think with Tatis out at the beginning of the season is when they're really going to take a jump if they even need one to hop above the Padres in the division. So.
The Padres.
You know what's interesting to me is the Giants are just like the odd man out in this. After winning 100
I haven't really. I really feel like that Posey loss was huge.
Posey was their best player last season. They didn't get Bryant back. They lost Gausman, who was great.
They had such a good year last year, and like to win the division over the Dodgers last year was incredible. But if they do it again, I mean, I just
felt like such a fluke.
If they do it again, like Gabe Kapler, what is he, the greatest manager of all time?
I know, he sucks.
He was in Philly, and he was terrible, and he was a meme. And he goes to San Fran, and everyone's like, what the hell are they doing? And they win 110 games last year. Yeah. I mean, it was absurd. I don't know how you replicate that, but we'll get to that. We'll get to the wild card spots in a bit. Ours will probably all be different.
Yeah. All right, Reese. Get me started. NL Central moving left to right now across the country.
Yeah, this is probably one of the tougher decisions I had to make. I went with the Brewers here because those first 3 pitchers in that rotation, I believe they were all under a 3 ERA last season, maybe even a 2, which is just literally absurd. I think the Brewers, all they really need is a decent to good year from Yelich and Kane, and these guys will be right back into the playoffs, and I think they're going to take the division with how good the pitching is.
Yeah, I think I like the Brewers. It's really pick your poison in the NL Central. Do you want to go with the loaded pitching staff? And I'm not saying by any means the Cardinals lineup is loaded, but it's far better than what the Brewers are rolling out.
It's the best lineup in that division.
I take the Cardinals just because their lineup is better and their defense is good enough to where I think they can pick up the pitching, because the Cardinals defense is not on the level of the Brewers pitching. Or the Cardinals pitching is not on the level of the Brewers pitching at all. I just like the Cardinals starting 9 over the Brewers. I think they win the division. And I don't know how Mike Schill, how good of a manager he was. I thought he was pretty good, but losing it, we'll see how they do without him. I don't think it's too much of a difference. And Higgs, I like what the Cubs added, but the Cubs are not winning.
I also have the Cardinals for every single point that JD said, and I have the Brewers in the playoffs also. The thing with the Brewers that's awesome, though, we all talk about the starting pitching, of course, because their top 3 is probably the most dominant top 3 in the MLB,
top 3.
Because each of those 3 guys are just, Cy Young candidates on their
And
best day.
They're not question marks like the Mets because
no,
those
there's
guys
not an
are
injury prone and a 37-year-old. And Bassett, I think, is just a solid pitcher.
I think Bassett's good, but the Brewers are just loaded. That pitching staff.
pitching staff's crazy.
But then you have in big games, I take the Brewers pitching over anyone's healthy or not because you go Corbin Burns to Josh Hader. You have the best bullpen pitcher in the league. You have the best starter, arguably the best starter in the league. I don't think
Devin
he's better
Williams,
than DeGrom,
too.
of course, any of those three, but I don't think any of the three are better than Scherzer, but I think the three are as close as two of them are as close as it gets. Lenny, you differ from me and JD there. I think you have the Brewers, right? So
I have the Brewers. I think their pitching staff, obviously, like we said, is I think it's the best in baseball, and I think their lineup will do enough for them to win the division. I think it'll be close between them and the Cardinals, though.
This division will be actually a fun one. They're starting to bring some more life to this division. The bottom of it sucks with the Pirates, and the Pirates are as bad as any team.
The Pirates are an absolute disgrace to
the Reds are they're
so
terrible also. Hopefully Votto's somewhere else this year because he doesn't deserve it anymore. Cubs, we'll see. I don't think the Cubs win more than 80 games.
I like the Stroman signing for them, but he doesn't make a whole world of difference. And I like the Suzuki signing too, but it's not going to win them. I don't think they win 80 games, to be honest.
I saw a great one on Twitter today. So we had the Stroman Cole thing from Carton the other day, but now I'm seeing from 2 or 3 Mets fans. So this does not speak for the group. I wish we kept Stroman instead of DeGrom because at least you can count on him pitching every time. What?
See, obviously,
you can be frustrated. Yeah, you could be frustrated about the injuries, but he's the most talented player.
I think I'd be more upset about the fact that we lost Syndergaard at this point without DeGrom. Like, obviously, with DeGrom, I couldn't give a shit whether we had Syndergaard and Stroman, but now it hurts to lose Syndergaard. But he left on his own accord. We offered him the QO, and he left because we did not have a manager. So really nothing we could do there. And Stroman, just a total asshole. So it's unfortunate that we don't have one of those guys, but it is what it is. We got Bassett, and Epler said today he's not going to go out of the team for substitution. So it's going to be tough to see what the back end of that rotation does. That'll swing us right into the NL East.
Right? So NL East I'll go first. Big Len, you go next, and then we'll let JD and Reese really dive into it as they are fans of the Mets, of course. I have the Braves without question here. The Mets last week, I thought the Mets were going to finish with the best record in the league, and then I was quickly reminded of the health of DeGrom and the pitching, and I have the Braves, no question. One thing I want to say about the Braves is how come their lineup doesn't get mentioned with Toronto's and the Dodgers? Because this lineup last year was absolutely ridiculous without Acuna in it. They didn't lose Freddie Freeman's statistically in the lineup with Matt Olson. Maybe they lost him in the clubhouse and everything, but you didn't lose anything from first base adding Matt Olson. You might get better because of the progression of Olson and the regression of Freeman. We'll see how that goes. Don't think it'll happen, but pitching shaky. You never know about Soroka, how long he's going to last either. Bullpen, we'll see. But this lineup is just absolutely ridiculous that the Braves have. I mean, every guy in it is a 300 hitter, possibly. I'm excited to watch the Braves. You guys might not be as excited to watch the Braves this year. But Lenny, who do you got?
Oh, I have Atlanta. I had Atlanta, even if DeGrom was healthy. I think they're the second best team in baseball behind the Dodgers. I think they're 105 win team. They're getting also Ozuna is coming back, who is a really good hitter. Will probably be their DH. They have obviously Acuna and then Olsen. I really think, and then even Kenley. I really like their additions this offseason. Even though they lost Freeman, they really had one of the best offseasons I think in MLB. So I got the Braves.
Yeah, and I like Atlanta too. Obviously, I think the Braves are in the driver's seat. I think they were in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Either way with DeGrom, I thought the Mets definitely had a chance with DeGrom, and I still think they do have a chance, but without Jake and the foreseeable injuries that we're probably going to get in the month of April and May, we're probably going to be buried by the time he even comes back because the Braves lineup's so good. They replaced Freddie Freeman. They replaced the top 3 first baseman with the top 3 first baseman and then locked him up for 8 years. So, and then the Kenley Jansen ad is good, and I think they'll have Soroka back. But a full season of Max Fried, I think now that DeGrom's out, I think he's a real good Cy Young candidate. Max Fried, he had the great postseason. the Braves are too good right now. Without even the Phillies, I like the Phillies lineup. They really have no back end starting pitching and bullpen. Yeah. And unfortunately, I just can't see a scenario where they beat out the Mets and the Braves. So I think Atlanta in the driver's seat, obviously. It sucks that DeGrom's hurt, but they're probably the favorites either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before this, I took my notes on this a week ago, and I had the Mets. But without DeGrom, I feel as though I'm putting too much faith into the Mets hitting. There hasn't been enough. I haven't been shown enough in the past years to be able to rely on them to win enough games without Jacob DeGrom, because they've shown that they can't really do that even when he pitches. So I'm going to go with Atlanta here. I think if DeGrom's healthy all season, it's a different story, but he's not. So.
Yeah, and obviously the DeGrom injury has caused this to be a unanimous sweep, because I
had the Mets. I had the Mets
you guys,
before this.
KB probably would have had the Mets because he had him as best record if DeGrom was okay. Big Lenny would have had the Braves. I maybe would have still had the Braves. Like you said, the Mets offense, Higgs said Lindor is going to be the old Lindor. I
agree. I do, but I can't
Lindor
have
has a great year.
Hope.
Unfortunately, I don't know how much
know if he can do it himself.
Yeah, the rest of the offense needs to show up, and I think Marte shows up. It's like the guys like McNeil and Dom Smith and Robinson Cano. These guys need to hit if the Mets
and there's going to be injuries, so we need certain guys to step up when others go down as
and
well.
We can't
expect everyone to be healthy.
They have a real nice bench too, and they have guys who can step in. It's just with what we've seen, like what makes you think the Mets are going to what makes anyone think the Mets are going to win?
We have seen nothing on the baseball field to make us think anything that the Mets are going to be different.
Roll every year.
In all honesty, the Mets, I think they obviously had the best offseason, and they just killed it with their signings. Marte, my favorite one of all of them.
I love Starling Marte.
They did such a great job with these signings, but they had the 27th best offense in baseball last year. Until I see that jump into the top 10 made, I can't trust that it's going to be made because there's a lot of guys coming back. There's McNeil's coming back. Nimmo's coming back, who I think highly of Brandon Nimmo. I really do like Nimmo a lot. I don't like him in center field at all.
I don't know what that's all about. I trust Buck.
It's a weird thing that's going on.
I think that the arm strength issue is a little bit of a
It's definitely a bizarre situation. I did not think that was the way that was going to go, but they do their offseason was great. Marte, I think, is a great addition. Escobar is awesome. He just drives and runs. Lindor, I think, will be back, but at the end of the day, this team, there's just so many
this team has what it takes. So
they've let us down so many times for me to be sit here and say the Mets are going to win the NL East. They can weather the storm, and they definitely can. They still do have a good rotation, I think. Scherzer, Bassett, you get first half Walker, and that changes things. You get a half decent Cookie, that changes things. I think McGill takes a step.
Yeah, McGill's been playing well too.
DeGrom just every 5 days. It's a killer. Every 5 days with DeGrom, 2-3 runs are going to win you a ball game.
Yeah.
Without that, it's just hard for anyone to say the Mets are going to win the NL East. So. Braves until proven otherwise.
Exactly. Same thing that we were talking about with Houston before, except for me because I'm a moron. All right, let's go to our playoff brackets. And we'll just do all of them in one. So would anyone like to start with all 12 of their teams and their seeds and who you have in the World Series?
Yeah, I'll start. In the AL,
I'll go next.
In the AL, I like the White Sox as the 1 seed. I said that before. I do not think they make the World Series. I like the Rays as my 2. The Astros are 3, and then the wild card is where it gets dicey in the AL. There's a lot of teams who can slide in. There's a lot of teams who can slide out. You guys have the Blue Jays winning the division. I have them as the 4 seed. I very much respect them. I think they have a good rotation, good lineup. I love the Blue Jays. I have the Yankees as the 5 seed because no matter what the Yankees do,
we're in
the offseason. No matter
we get the Rays in round 1 though.
You'll get
it's a bye.
You'll get the Blue Jays. You get the Blue Jays.
Oh
no, 4-5. Yeah, Blue Jays.
All right, yeah.
4, Yankees.
All right, JD,
5.
keep going. Sorry for the
interruption. No, you're good. And the Yankees, no matter what they do in the offseason, they always find a way to make the playoffs every year. They'll probably win 90 games, even though I'm not too high on them. I still think they're the 5 seed. And then 6 seed, we talked about the Red Sox, definitely in play here, but I'm going to go with the Mariners. I don't know. The ending to last year, that they were just one of those feel-good stories. And then they brought in Adam Frazier in the offseason. They brought in Jesse Winker. They brought in Robbie Ray. I think those are 3 real good additions if you get what they were last year. So I think the Mariners are definitely in play maybe for the division, and I think they're definitely in play for a wild card spot. So that's who I got in the AL. Coming out of the AL, I think even though I didn't have them winning the division, I think maybe the Blue Jays come up and from the wild card spot and go on a bit of a run. Definitely a bunch of teams in the AL. So Blue Jays, my team I'll pick, but a bunch of different ways you can go there. And then in the NL, Dodgers 1, Braves 2, Cardinals 3. And then in the wild card, I like the Brewers because their rotation is just awesome. 3 real quality guys. We talked about that already. And then you have Hader shutting the door. And then I like the Mets. Still like the Mets to get in the playoffs. As long as DeGrom's not out for the year and Scherzer stays healthy, I don't think that changes my opinion. I think they have a fine offense this year. Definitely will bounce back. And then 6, just out of respect for last year, I'll go the Giants. I think that last year they were so good, and I know they'll probably be a little bit worse this year, but out of respect, I like the Giants in over. I mean, the rest of the NL is you got the Padres, but that's really about it. There's probably 7, 8 teams who can make the playoffs, but I'll go Dodgers at 6, and then boring pick, but not the Dodgers, but I'll take the Braves to come out of the NL and face the Blue Jays, even though they lost Freddie Freeman. They added Matt Olson. We talked about it already. The Braves are just really good. I don't want to take the Dodgers, so give me the Braves and the Blue Jays in the World Series.
And who do you got as the champ there?
We'll go Blue Jays just for the sake of not picking the Braves twice in a row. But I am so excited for the MLB season.
I know, it's
awesome.
awesome.
The Mets.
Yeah.
It sucks that my excitement for the Mets is down, but there's so many good teams, and the season's going to be so fun. The playoffs expanded to 6 teams. I love it. The 3-game wild card.
As it
it's
should be.
So fun for me. So,
Lenny, give us the rundown.
Yeah.
All right, so in the AL, I got the Blue Jays at 1. I have the White Sox at 2, Astros 3, and then here in the wild card, I got the Yanks as the 4th seed. I really think they're gonna overachieve. Honestly, I really think they're gonna be right there with the Blue Jays for the division. Then at 5, I have the Red Sox, and then I do have the Mariners making it in. So I don't have Tampa Bay making it in. I don't know. I mean, they probably will make it in, but I just don't. I don't feel their roster, and they don't do enough to. I feel like this might be the year they finally decline, and don't maybe miss.
It might come one of these years for sure. The Rays, but we'll see.
In the NL, I got the Dodgers, then the Braves, then the Brewers, all winning the divisions. 1, 2, 3 in that order. And then I have at 4, I have the Padres. I really think the Padres with Melvin are going to be a way different team. I didn't like their manager in years past. I feel like he was too laid back.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great manager. And I feel like their pitching staff is going to pitch how they should pitch this year. And I think we might see a little bit of Mackenzie Gore, who's going to be very exciting to watch, really top prospect, sick lefty. So I'm really excited for the Padres. And I like Voit there. I think he's going to fit in great. Yeah. And then if they can get Tatis back, I mean, we all know what Tatis can do. Yeah. And then I have the Mets as the 5 seed, and then I have the Cardinals as the 6. So
I like that.
And then
NFC, NL, football mode.
And then in the World Series, I have the same as JD. I have the Braves and the Blue Jays, and I think the Blue Jays are going to win because no one repeats. So
yeah,
I think
all right.
I really like the Braves, and I really like the Blue Jays now.
Yeah.
The AL can go a different.
The AL can honestly go in like 8 or 9 ways. Because there's a couple teams that if it clicks, like in Minnesota, if Correa really works, they could make a run. Toronto, if they add another pitcher from Oakland, maybe they can make a run. Not Toronto. Oakland, not Oakland. Who else was I thinking of? Minnesota, Texas. I was thinking about the T's, Toronto, Texas. If Simeon has a year like he had last year and they get a healthy Seager for 120 plus, that's a dangerous team. So a lot of different ways you can go in the NL.
The way this will go is we'll be so far off because who the hell saw the Braves going all the way last year if they won 88 games? The Mets were in the division lead for half the year. The NL East was terrible. They get in, and the Braves win the World Series. So knowing me and Big Len, we have the same predictions. It'll probably be so incredibly off, but the Blue Jays and Braves are just feel like two real good picks to make it out of the NL and AL right now.
Yeah, Reese, what do you got?
All right, so I'm gonna run through my NL quick here because I have literally the same exact teams in the same exact order as Big Lenny. So I have the Dodgers at 1, Braves at 2, Brewers at 3. The Dodgers are just the Dodgers. I believe they're gonna end up coming out of the NL. But I'm gonna move on to the AL now. I have at the 1 spot I have the White Sox. At 2, I'm gonna have the Jays. At 3, I'm going to have the Astros, and then the Rays at 4, Yankees at 5, and then I took a little bit of a risk here. I'm going to say Angels with the 6. I think if they're able to, like we talked about, Syndergaard's able to play well, Trout and Ohtani are able to stay healthy, I think the Angels are one of those teams that can possibly click. And
I hope the Angels get in.
I do too. I do too. I really like to watch
that.
And then I'm going to have the Dodgers and the Blue Jays in the World Series.
What do you got?
And I'll take the Blue Jays. I'll take the
Blue Jays. We all have the Blue Jays. I mean, that is just crazy.
They have no chance now.
Yeah,
they have no chance.
They're done. They're done.
No chance.
I got my rundown here. See if I could break the Toronto curse that we have put on them this year. So my 1 seed AL White Sox. I talked about them before. Blue Jays, my 2. Angels are my 3. I'm praying for the Trout-Ohtani division win this year. 4, Tampa, I think, finishes right behind Toronto. 5, Houston. Houston's just such a dangerous team every year because they just come to play. Dusty Baker, great manager. They still got great players there. Verlander, we'll see how he is coming back. Then I got the Yankees as my 6. So that would be awesome for the Yankees in this scenario because we would get the Angels in the first round, which I would be pleased with.
That'll be a whipping.
We'd get the Angels in the first round, and then we'd get the White Sox in the second round. We might as well just get 2 buys to the ALCS in this scenario, which I didn't even plan for that, but I pray that it happens. Then I have the Dodgers as the 1, the Braves as the 2, Cardinals are my 3, so same top 3 as JD. Padres are my 4, 5 Brewers. 6 is the Mets. They were my 5 until I found out DeGrom will be out for 2 months. So I think if it's a close finish at the end, we can look back and say, well, if DeGrom hadn't missed, 7 to 10 starts, then we'd be sitting in a totally different story and talking about how the Mets could have been a 4 seed or even caught the Braves if they finished 4 or 5 wins behind them. World Series, I also have the Blue Jays. So as my AL representative. So I want to just talk about why I have them. I touched on it a little bit before. If this scenario was to happen, where the Blue Jays get a top 2 seed because they won the AL East, they're getting all home games throughout the playoffs. So once again, opponents don't get some of their best players because they're not vaccinated.
That just
that's a disaster.
You'd think that will change, right?
At the
I don't
end of
think
the
it
season,
would.
it just I know Canada is that way, but I just don't know how that's even allowed.
I don't think Toronto should be allowed to play there right now. That's not fair.
Yeah, it's not. It's
a very difficult situation, though, because as much as we all agree in that they should, in a situation like that, they should have to go back to Buffalo or, whatever. Unfortunately, it's just they lose so much money playing anywhere else, and it's a pandemic situation where, like, I agree with you guys, obviously, but the league's in a tough spot where they can't force a team out of their home field where they play great. I mean, Toronto is probably the best home team in the league. When they're a packed Rogers Center, you can't beat them.
Yeah, they have to return home, and it's really a shitty situation. You just have to hope and pray that gets changed by playoff time, because I do not know what happens.
And here's a big thing with changing that is it's not like the vaccination rules in New York where guys like Judge aren't playing. Everyone in Toronto is still playing, and you have the power as a political leader there to give them a huge advantage in going to the World Series and making a ton of money for the city of Toronto. Why would you change the rule? It's just, it stinks. It's a terrible situation. But if you were a political leader in Toronto with a say, would you want to give them a worse chance at winning the World Series?
Canada, you just cannot count on Canada to change that at all. I mean, they have to, like they don't have to. They definitely do not have to, and they probably will not. But I just cannot see a scenario on how that stays in the playoffs.
I feel like if it gets bad, like if the Jays have a very good record at home, the MLB might have to step in. But they're like 30-3.
I feel like they have to
also
step in now because that's a very possible scenario.
It is. I think it might.
And they can't just say with 2 weeks left in September, hey, Toronto, you guys are a little bit too good. You're going to get a ton of home games because you already have 98 wins. We can't have you playing, so you got to go back to 3,000-seat Buffalo minor league field.
It's not fair to them.
Real quick, before we continue talking about this, I have the Padres with Bob Melvin coming out of the National League. I think the pitching staff is going to be great. I have them winning the World Series over Toronto in this. I think Melvin is a huge boost for them. The only issue is, will they fall too far behind early in the season trying to catch up with the Tatis injury like they did at the end of the season last year? But let's keep talking about the Blue Jays here. JD, I think you might have had something to say.
I pretty much said everything, but I'll just say, like, it's just such a tough scenario that, like, you'd like to think that they would change it, but at the end of the day, how does the MLB can't go about changing that unless they move the Blue Jays out of Toronto again, which will not happen because it's time for them to return home and they're not going back to Florida to play. So I just it really is one of those scenarios where I just don't know how at the end of the year you get out of it unless Canada changes its policy.
And
I also think. You want to go, KB?
No,
you want me to go? All right. I think some of the guys, like, we don't even know technically if Judge and Rizzo. I know Rizzo wasn't last year, but I think some of them, if that's going to stick around, I really think teams are really going to push guys heavily to get vaccinated so that they could play, because we can't have you missing games.
Which was probably the goal of the rule being placed in the first place.
I think they're going to really try to get guys. I know, like, even the Red Sox, they paid Story and ended up in the contract was you were going to make you get vaccinated, and they took it for the money. So we'll see. Maybe if Judge gets an extension, he gets vaccinated.
The AL East teams are probably frightened of that, and it's an actual, like, real problem.
It's a real issue.
It's not one that can be fixed very easily because some guys are not going to get it, and Aaron Judge might be one of them. Trevor Story wound up getting it because it's such a big deal that the Red Sox are putting that in their contracts. It's such a problem for the AL East and the AL in general that the worst, like, in the regular season, the teams playing them will get by, and the Blue Jays will probably beat up on a lot of teams. But in the playoffs, it becomes a whole different, like, problem in the first place.
Especially, like I said, if they got a high seed. If they finish with a 3 or a 4 seed and a team has to play that. So hypothetically, we'll say the Red Sox finish with the 6 and Toronto finishes with the 3. Say that Devers, Bogarts, Eovaldi, Verdugo, Martinez not vaccinated. Mm-hmm. You have 3 games, a best of 3 in Toronto. You have none of your heart of the order in Toronto. That's a 2-game sweep. It's over. Toronto doesn't even have to pitch their best guys. You can just save them. I mean, it's an easy 2-game sweep because you have minor leaguers playing from the back end of the 40-man playoff roster.
I agree. Yeah, it's not a good scenario, and the MLB is probably praying that the Blue Jays do not win the AL East because
you have to be.
Then they'll have to go on the road.
That is as much of an asterisk as anything. If the Blue Jays win a World Series this year because they got a high seed because they beat the hell out of teams at home,
it'll get loud. If the Blue Jays win a World Series like that, it will get loud.
Yeah,
just like the Astros, even though the Astros were cheating and. This is a rule that the Blue Jays...
And this will be going on during the playoffs. We won't know that Houston's cheating during the 2017 run. We figured it out 2 years after. Len, imagine we're sitting there at the American League Championship Series, Judge is on the bench, and we have, like, Hicks or I don't even know, like, who else. Instead of Stanton, Hicks, Stanton, Judge, Gallo, you have Hicks out in center going 0 for 18, easiest out in the lineup through the 4 games, 5 games, and you just sit and wonder, especially if Judge has a great series the 2 before.
The World Series too is a huge issue. If they get all the way there with that rule,
you're not going to have the stars play.
You play the World Series. What if, like, I'm not saying this will happen, but the Mets are in the World Series. DeGrom's healthy and he cannot pitch in Toronto. I mean, it's different for him because he can pitch in Citi Field, but it's like, what if you want him to throw game 1?
What if it's Game 7? What if it's Game 7?
Exactly what I'm thinking.
Then
if it's Game 7 and you're going back to Toronto and you're Milwaukee or you're the Mets and you have Burns or DeGrom going on the hill, or for the Yankees, Garrett Cole, who I think is vaccinated, but even if he wasn't, you have him going there. I mean, it's a disaster situation in Toronto. That's why it almost just feels like they have such an advantage over the teams before you even look at the rosters.
Luckily,
get through these games.
Luckily, we all picked them to go there, so now they have probably
now
no
they're
chance.
Yeah, so now there's no way they're going.
we
not even make the playoffs at this rate.
We might not even find out. We don't even know. We're just speculating that these guys aren't valuable. We could find out literally when we go to play Toronto that Judge and Rizzo are in the lineup, or Red Sox, their whole lineup's good. Everyone just got it.
Yeah,
so
we don't know when it happens
I
or
hope
not.
that, I mean, it's their choice. They could do whatever they want, but I just hope that either
another
Toronto
thing that
can
affect
for a fan's sake, you hope that they
another thing that can affect, not to get too deep into the rules and inner workings of the MLB, but is player options, because player options, if you have to use player options to manipulate your roster to play 3 games in Toronto in August or September, you're losing a lot of young players' player options that are very valuable to front offices in the MLB. So if a guy has 6 available player options left and you have 3 big series against Toronto after the All-Star break, the guy's going to have 3 left after the season, and you're not going to be able to manipulate his service time.
Yep.
So it just causes a ton of problems when you think about it, which I hadn't even thought about it this deep when I was making these picks.
I didn't think about the playoffs. I did think about the competitive imbalance in the regular season, but during the playoffs, I honestly did not. That thought did not cross my mind.
Yeah, top 3 seed for Toronto is a disaster in the playoffs. So, and they right now, I think they're the most talented team in the division, and I think that they have a great advantage because of this home field situation. I think without it, I'd be confident in saying Toronto wins this division because they have a good pitching staff. They have the best lineup in the league potentially. I don't know. This sucks. This is a disaster.
At least we got baseball a week away, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank God.
I'm still excited, but it's definitely more disappointing for me and Reese because you don't have to go. I'm going game 1, but as long as if Scherzer's not out there,
if Scherzer's hurt,
I might die. I may not wake up the next morning. Yeah, Scherzer's not pitching opening day.
This is something to look forward to. Next week we have games to talk about.
Yeah,
Friday.
Oh, I did want to mention. If you've been paying attention to my betting picks, my last 3 posts, I'm 16-3.
MLB,
so keep an eye on those.
You know what? Yeah, round of applause, Reese. We're gonna do. I think this week we'll do a lock it in. We'll do overs and unders, but before the season starts, we'll go through all the overs and unders and stuff.
Yeah, so Thursday next week is one of the biggest days in the history of America.
I'm so excited.
Opening day in the MLB after a long off season. We got a full 162 coming up. Yankees home against Boston, Mets on the road in Washington, and should be a fun one. Big games for the Yankees. Mets, we're hoping to see Scherzer next week on Thursday. And I just want to remind Yankees fans that we won one more game last year. We win the wild card game because we're at home, and who knows what happens. So you don't want to look back at the opening series as a clean sweep by Boston, saying that if we won one more game against Boston this year, we would have made the playoffs or we would have had home field. Don't want to be doing that again. Got to get off to a hot start for the Yankees. The Mets, we hope that most of this team is healthy. There could be an absolute curse over the next 7 days, and we are looking at a AAA team on Thursday at this rate. I hope for you guys that's not the case. But at the worst, we're going to get the Bassett debut.
This week is going to this is going to test us, because if we're going to have the Scherzer rumors all week, it's already tough with DeGrom. We'll see what we're looking like opening day. As long as the offense is there and they can hit it, I mean, I think we should beat up on Washington. But going to Philly in that second series is tough because that ballpark, they're probably going to beat the shit out of us and hit like 30 home runs over that weekend. You can count Schwarber. You can lock
Castellanos and Schwarber both to homer in their first at bat.
You can lock Schwarber to homer about 5 times in that.
Philly's a dark horse, though. Philly's definitely a dark horse.
They got a great offense.
If they figure some pitching out here and Girardi can get his act together, it could be a pretty lethal, mash sesh this year.
The Phillies have talent. They're
the Phillies.
loaded,
I don't think
but-
it will happen, but it's
Mhm.
definitely possible.
You get a great,
one of-
absolutely great year from Wheeler. You never know.
I think
Wheeler,
Wheeler's.
I think
Wheeler and
might
Nola
get the Cy Young.
are a slept-on 1-2.
You know what? Since we had Big Lenny and Reese, I wasn't on last week, but now that DeGrom's probably out of the Cy Young race, any NL options we like. I like Wheeler. I said I liked Fried.
It's
I like
always
Wheeler.
Logan Webb. It was always
Logan Webb.
Logan Webb on the 74-win Giants this year. It always was.
I definitely like Wheeler. for that
I think
Cy Young
Wheeler's a
now.
nice option too.
Yeah,
Big
especially because
Lenny.
Wheeler, you got to expect a lot of wins because of the run support he should be getting, especially at home. You got to expect a 20-win season from Wheeler if you're a Phillies fan.
I think Wheeler's awesome. Imagine if the Mets still had Wheeler. That would. I don't know if they'd have Scherzer. They probably would with Steve Cohen, but if they had Scherzer and Wheeler still, I mean that'd be awesome. 2-0 Isles. They had a little hockey on GBU.
LGI. How about the
Little hockey on
Rangers?
GBU. I wish we could bring some hockey onto GBU, but this year, not the year to
It's
start.
not.
talking
I've
about
been very
Islanders hockey.
Hockey's definitely disinterested me this year just because of how bad the Islanders have been. But
I did want to mention quick. This is very off topic. I don't know if any of you saw on your Twitters, but Xavier Howard is getting paid $25 million a year now.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
crazy.
most guaranteed
What?
money
He
for
got
a corner.
extended.
Yeah,
He got
extended.
extended
He got
5 years.
5-year
He's getting
extension.
25 a year, which is the
Aaron Donald's going to get 35 a year, dude.
Aaron Donald's gonna get 50.
Aaron Donald is going to break.
Aaron Donald's gonna grab like 5 for 300 at this rate.
5 for
25
300
a year.
guaranteed.
5 for 300 fully
Fully
guaranteed.
guaranteed.
With incentives can reach up to
And he gets-
$750 million.
I was gonna say gets $1 million every snap.
25 a year is insane, dude. We are fucked with Jair's extension, dude.
Jair's about to-
Jair's
Jair's-
extension.
He's
You
such a
can-
giant next year.
You can count. You can just Jair is not getting extended now. 25 a year
For
dude.
Howard,
For
who's
Howard, for Xavier Howard.
He's good, but
Man,
Who's
he's
good,
just
but
handing
not
out
not
Jair.
even top
He's-
5 in
he's-
my opinion.
Yeah, he doesn't
Damn.
have his own island.
everyone is resetting the market. The Packers cannot afford to do this.
I mean,
Reese,
can
DJ
anybody-
Reed at 11, looking good. No,
I mean, I guess
Yeah,
now
DJ Reed's
compared
nice
to
piece.
25.
DJ Reed's good.
Oh, I
player.
love
That's-
the addition of
but
DJ.
he's
compared to
no,
25 a year for Xavier Howard, it's not.
11 a year.
We
did
should
sound
imagine
good, but
we
that's
gave
not the cap
Reed
hit.
25 a year.
I mean, Douglas. They
Douglas
would have
would
his
never.
head. They would
Douglas
have his
wouldn't give
face on
Rodgers 25 a
wanted
year.
posters.
25 a year. That actually ruined my day hearing that.
Yeah, that's
because
a rough
Yeah,
one.
that's
I
rough,
don't-
man.
But hey,
like,
That's a
obviously-
do
lot.
nothing Isles. Marty Marks. Marty
like,
Marks.
I don't give a shit about the Dolphins, but 25 a year just absolutely breaks down contract talks between the
Oh yeah,
Packers
I mean
and
you can see
Jair.
him.
Now
He's
we're
a giant.
screwed.
He's totally Joe Shane's already writing out the contract. They got $100 million next year. He's a
yeah.
giant or a Falcon. No
He's a
other
giant.
team.
He's
He's definitely not a
Yeah,
Jet
yeah.
because Joe Douglas doesn't go
No.
over his
Douglas
personal
doesn't
value for a player. So Douglas is going to go at like he's going to offer Jair the 13.5 a year and be like, hey, this is what we think about you. He's literally when Len says that's what I think about that player. That's what Joe Douglas is.
I just looked up where he's from just for conversation's sake. He's from Charlotte, and he's not going to Carolina. So fuck
Dry.
Fuck Carolina.
I don't
He's
know
not
though.
going
I
there.
don't know. Carolina,
Carolina
new head coach
stinks.
next year. Jair, maybe a little connect.
Carolina, that would be the best secondary in football.
Bisaccia
Yeah.
to
Jeremy Chin.
Carolina next year after
We have
building a
to-
great relationship
It could be.
with Jair.
We have to pay him. Speaking of NFL, I
I
made
love
up
the NFL, man.
I made up a
Okay.
graphic for our last mock draft that we did a few weeks ago, and it's a little outdated, but I'll post it. I think if you guys want, I'm down to do
I would
the
love
second one too,
to do a
because
second one.
the mock season. I am so excited for the NFL draft. I am more excited for the NFL draft than I've ever been in my life. It's just such a spectacle, man. And the first 2
It's
days
the-
are just awesome.
Yeah.
So something I really want to touch on here. I'm going to start also doing sports minutes every Sunday morning, just about New York sports. So I'm just going to talk about quickly headlines, thoughts.
It's epic.
This from Higgy, I want to talk about not AJ Brown particularly, but DK Metcalf. Get your guys' thoughts on how I'm feeling here. If the Jets
No
were
way.
to trade 10 for DK Metcalf, I think DK is getting traded. I just
I
can't
agree.
see it being
Listen,
the Jets
it
because
will not be the Jets. I've
because
told,
how is
told
John
about this
Schneider going
before.
to explain to shareholders and fans that we traded two
exactly what I
firsts and
said.
2/3 for Jamal Adams, and we just gave DK Metcalf to the same team for
The
far
pick you
less?
gave up. Yeah.
Literally, if the Jets traded Jamal Adams for DK Metcalf and Elijah Vera Tucker, start building Douglas's Hall of Fame bust, even if they win 5 games next year, because that's the greatest trade in NFL history.
The Jamal Adams trade is insane, but
Jamal Adams
like
is great.
the Seahawks have their hands tied behind their back because they probably do want. They're probably fielding calls from Metcalf. They're probably going to trade him if I had to take a guess. The Jets are probably the best fit. They have 2 first-round picks. It's just tough. I do not think – we'll talk about the other teams. Kansas City could make a play for Metcalf, but he already shut that down. So, now they're letting the receivers pick where they want to go. So, if they let Metcalf pick where he wants to go, I'm not sure why he wouldn't want to go to Kansas City. But that doesn't seem to happen. And
Metcalf and A.J. Brown, at least we have an Elijah Moore connection there. Definitely to Brown. I don't know how much Moore's relationship is with Metcalf, but
I definitely do not think the Packers are trading for Metcalf either.
I think they try to keep him out of conference, especially with the Packers being a contender. You're not trading him to Carolina,
and we can afford him because we tried to pay Devontae, but I just don't think you use those picks. Go get 2 guys under contract. Go get 2 young guys who you're going to have for at least 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
So
I agree.
I just don't see them trading for him.
Bobby Wags to the Rams. How do we feel? Lenny, you can go first, and then we'll talk about Bobby Wags.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I think the Jets are definitely in the best position to get him. And I think if I'm them, Douglas, why won't just give 10? Just give.
I agree.
10.
I think he will. I don't know. It's not about that. It's if Seattle does that.
They haven't had that type of wide receiver, and I don't know.
I agree.
We had a year of Brandon Marshall.
The Jets have a better chance.
I think it's so much worth it. I'd rather just give up the 10 than the 2 seconds or more. I'd rather just say we're going to give you 10 in like a fourth straight, and let's just go.
I would do it. I don't think Seattle does it. I think the Jets have a better chance at A.J. Brown.
I still see a scenario, though, where Metcalf could go to the Jets for their 2 seconds, just like Tyreek.
Maybe they're 2 seconds.
Can I be honest with you? I prefer to give 10.
I prefer to give 10 as well.
The 2 seconds, we still should be getting 2 very high-quality starters with 2 top 5 second-round picks, 2 top 6 second-round picks. I'd almost rather give 10, and you still have the ability to trade into the first if you want to. You have a lot of capital to work with still. I could be wrong, but I'm kind of a sucker for early day 2 picks because I love, and I've said it to you guys before, I love that 24-hour thought process that you could have before you make those picks. You know who's left on the board. At 10, you don't totally know who's going to be there. So get your guy at 4, or you could even trade out of 4 and get, 2 extra picks later, or even all 3 of Phillies if you want to. You just have so many more options, I think, if you trade 10 than giving up those 2 seconds. Also, for my selfish enjoyment, I'd love to be going into day 2 on draft night, knowing I'm getting 2 picks right off the bat.
Day 2 is not as good as day 1, obviously, because day 1 is just a whole spectacle. It's like an event. It's just the NFL draft. It's just a show. Day 2 is a little more dead, but it is just as fun because those are still premium picks. The Jets have 2. The Packers have 2. The Giants only have 1, but the Giants have 2 first round. We're all loaded.
The Giants basically have a late first round pick with how early they're set.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I always say it, and
especially in this draft. This is a late first round pick.
For the reason I just said, I love those early seconds. I think that the top 5 of the second round are more valuable than the bottom 5 of the first round. Because bottom 5 of the first round, you have no idea who's going to be sitting there, really, because of the amount of reaches that you think a guy is going to be there, and maybe you didn't scout as much. I know that they do thorough scouting, not like we do, but they do very thorough on every player. But maybe a guy that you thought was going to go a lot higher that you didn't have a shot at, so you didn't take as much of a stake in, falls to you.
And once you get to the bottom, you're reaching contenders who are very position certain as to who they want.
Meanwhile, there's a situation like last year where the Jets' second favorite receiver in the draft was Elijah Moore behind Chase, and Waddle's a better player. I'm not saying that he's the second best receiver, but the Jets on their board reportedly had him as their second receiver, and you're going into day 2 with the second pick, and you're like, how the hell is Elijah Moore still here? If Jacksonville doesn't take him, we just got our guy at receiver. So you have that extra day to just sit on it, and you know who's going to be there. You know who's going to be at your picks. I'm excited. I think I'm like not even being blindly optimistic. I think the Jets are going to get a wide receiver 1 before the draft. I don't think they like any of these guys. I think there's been way too much noise from Joe Douglas, who makes no noise in the offseason the last 2 years. and Noise meaning he doesn't leak anything.
Yeah, like Tyreek, DJ,
I want to have that hope.
He doesn't leak anything. And now I see all this stuff.
I can't get myself excited for the Jets.
I'm not
it's like
getting myself excited for
the Mets.
The logical part of my brain tells me I think they're going to have a number one receiver by the draft.
Jets
I hope you're right. They clearly want one. I don't know if one becomes available. What wide receiver is really going to choose?
Metcalf is
any other team offering.
Metcalf is a Jet. I just want to say it. I'm saying it now. Metcalf is a Jet.
I just disagree. I think Seattle's going to stay away from us because of how we fleeced them recently. Yeah, I just don't think it's worth that.
Reese, you say what wide receiver will come to the Jets? I think we actually have a real good shot at all three of these guys. One, Deebo Samuel, who I don't think will get moved, would obviously come play for us because he'd come play for the coaching staff. But Reese, not even like will he get moved or not, just saying out of these three guys, Deebo would obviously come to play for the Jets because he's coming to play for that coaching staff. He knows the guys. He likes the guys. A.J. Brown would come play with Elijah Moore in a heartbeat. The guy cried like a 7-year-old girl who just got her birthday party ruined when he got drafted. And DK Metcalf wants money. That's what he wants.
I would love all of these.
He doesn't want to play in Kansas City. What does that tell you? This guy doesn't care about winning.
He wants
a contract, and we're going to give him a fat one.
And guess
what? He's going to wear that Pfizer and that number 14 that Darnold could never wear. And he's going to catch 48 touchdowns in the next 3 seasons. And Zach Wilson's going to become good because he has a guy that he's going to throw it to.
Being a Jets fan is so fucking exhausting. And just being put into like these scenarios, like it's great. It's great to be in these talks, but it fucking sucks until you're actually the one to get him.
And honestly, am I going to be upset with Garrett Wilson or Drake London
in
the draft?
Be either.
I'm really not going to be
either, but I'd prefer a proven
if
star.
You guys want
to,
if you guys want to trade for a wide receiver, I mean that's just one other spot. Those wide receivers will keep falling. I need Olave to fall at 22. I just need it. I need it.
I saw a few things about Olave going earlier in the
I hope you get I think Olave is going to go before. I think Burks. I think Burks or Dotson's a Packer.
I think it's Burks. Which I love.
The reason I'm so confident in Metcalf being a Jet is because of the money. Like KB said, he wants that fat guarantee contract. The Packers and Chiefs the Packers they won't to him because they didn't get Devontae, so they're going to draft guys. The Chiefs aren't going to be able to do it for him if they couldn't do it for Tyreek. So the Jets.
I just don't know why it hasn't happened yet,
Because I don't think Seattle. I think Seattle's probably conflicted right now, sitting there like, hey, the best offer we're going to get is 10, but I just got embarrassed by this team 2 years ago with Jamal Adams. And how do I explain this? How do I make this deal? That could be a scenario. Or there's a scenario where Seattle's still trying to talk about contract talks, but you get to that week before the draft and it's really not going anywhere. And you're like, all right, well, I don't want to move him in June for one of next year's draft picks, and you don't know where the pick's going to be. So let's get 10 right now. Or maybe Seattle's banging on the table with the Jets to get 4 because they don't want to trade back for their 10.
Yeah. I think they definitely just need to right their wrongs and take 10 and call it a day because, well, the closer. So we have 4 weeks. So there's no real rush on the Jets end right now because
exactly.
These guys are going
to get moved the week before.
If you're going to improve, it's going to be before the draft. So you have 4 weeks. And the closer you get to draft night, if Seattle wants to move Metcalf, they are losing leverage. So, your offer can be 10, and it could be in Seattle's court. But I just think the Jets end up with the wide receiver 1 before the draft. And
another thing here, we got some nice Twitter shit breaking today.
Patriots
it's known. It's not like crazy news, but the Pats have had exploratory talks with OBJ. So that would be
OBJ could definitely be a Patriot.
That would be interesting.
Doesn't totally concern me as a Jets fan.
Tyrann Mathieu
half of the year we won't get.
It's not like we're going to get the first or second.
I think he's going to go to the Saints.
I think he's a Saints or a Steeler.
The Saints just can't give him a multi-year deal, which I think he can definitely get.
The Saints are right back. They have 21 million cap space right now, which is about 10 in effective cap space because you got to sign your draft picks. But the Saints next year, you're looking ahead, they're right back in cap hell.
Is Tyrann Mathieu even going to get more than 10 though? Like, let's be real.
I don't
Marcus
know.
Williams got 14.
I think he could get more than 10.
I think
for a year 12, he can get 14 or 15 11. For a year.
3-year deal maybe.
On a team like Indianapolis. Multi-year, I'd say 12, 13.
Yeah, I
can
could
see like 3 years, 36.
I could even see like the Raiders. A lot of Raiders fans are begging for him to be on their team. The Raiders.
You guys already had your moment in the sun this whole season.
Come on.
Let's stop.
Yeah,
Let's stop. They're gonna win the Super Bowl next year with the God Madden patch on the jersey, aren't they?
I like the Raiders. I really do, and
I really could.
I love talking NFL. I can't wait until
we always get caught up. There was one trade rumor.
Also, next week though is going to be awesome with 2 MLB games to talk about with the Mets and Yanks.
I just cannot wait, and
great month.
I can't wait till the draft.
Best month. Best month.
April might be the greatest month of all time.
April's awesome. Yeah. April is awesome. GBU once MLB gets rolling next week, and then you have the mock. We have our mock drafts. We have the draft. I mean, it's just going to be awesome.
Golf fans, I know there's none other than me here, but
Tiger
we have the Masters next week. Tiger likely going to play. I hate Tiger, so I don't even care. But I don't hate Tiger, but I'm just like, all right.
We're approaching, not that I am the biggest NBA fan, but I do enjoy watching the NBA playoffs.
We'll talk about it. Do you guys have any – I'm going to say my piece regardless. I forgot to mention this. Do you guys have any March Madness picks for tomorrow that you want to talk about for the Final Four?
No, I like UNC. I do. I think UNC is going to win.
I'm rocking Duke, Kansas tomorrow night. My reasons for both, if you've been watching closely, Justin Moore tore his Achilles for Villanova. I love Villanova. Had him to win. I think Jay Wright's the best coach in college basketball. But Moore is their best player, covers all 5 positions on the court, by far the most valuable player. And Duke, I actually think UNC might be a little bit better at this point in the year, but Duke just lost them 3 weeks ago at Coach K's last game at Cameron Indoor. I don't see them doing it again to beat Duke in the Final Four within 3 weeks, beating them twice. Those are my 2 picks. I think Duke's going to win the whole thing if they do win, which is absolute rigged horseshit if Coach K wins the title this year. But either way,
we should have known Duke USC was going to be Final Four.
Yeah,
it should have just been a lock. If you looked at your bracket, and I didn't have it. So I
didn't even make one. I'm not I don't know too much about March Madness, which is why I kind of stay out of it. But I think Duke is a lock to win. I really think they're going to get in.
At this point, it just feels like
that's why I picked UNC.
Yeah.
That's why I'm picking UNC.
This is what
Reese, I hope you're right.
I've been on them too. So.
I was going to lead into. It seems like everybody is on Duke, which is just like people who like North Carolina are probably salivating right now because the public is all over Duke. Everybody and their mother is on Duke.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't cover, I'd be shocked. If they don't cover, I'd be shocked.
What's the spread?
I think let me double check.
3.5.
We were on Zaga. Me and Big Blue were on Zaga.
It's 4.
That went down.
Zaga's the Green Bay Packers of college basketball.
They're so good.
Yeah,
Jay Wright, Hofstra, former Hofstra coach, took us on our greatest tournament runs, greatest NIT tournament run also. That's where he got his start, so very proud of that. John Cooper, also unfortunately Hofstra alumni. John Cooper, Tampa Bay Lightning coach. We hate him.
Yeah, we don't like him.
Hockey playoffs soon too.
Unfortunate
that we're not a part of it.
The spread in both games is 4.
I feel like I'd rather watch the NBA playoffs than the NHL.
NBA playoffs, they're going to be awesome this year.
Because I can watch the NBA playoffs and just enjoy.
Yeah, the NHL playoffs
7 shots on goal, 5 minutes left in the second, and we're up. I mean, this is the most.
Who's in net? Sorokin or?
Got to be Soroks.
Who's in there for Rangers?
Sorokin's hurt, isn't he? It's got to be Varlamov.
Yeah, if Sorokin's
Schneider.
He didn't travel with the team the other day to Columbus.
Let's see. But yeah, the NHL.
They can't beat us.
NBA playoffs.
Farley and
Shesterkin.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Shesty.
It's Shesty.
Igor sucks. Third best Russian in NY.
NHL playoffs would be good, but I don't know if I can watch.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Leo.
No.
No, I thought you were going Leo.
If Leo was still here, he's the 4th.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we wrapped.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, we're wrapped. Good stuff. Be there next week. We got games.
Yeah, next week will be great.
Next time we'll be live. There will be a game of baseball.
Because someone is going to be a horrible overreaction next week because the Yanks and Mets are in both. You just can't tell me they're both on opening.
No way.
What if Scherzer or Cole? Right now, I'm going to say Scherzer's going to pitch. We'll see. If Scherzer / Bassett / Cole are going to
We'll
get
get shelled.
absolutely shelled.
If the Mets are going to lose to Washington opening day, and all hell is going to break loose on here.
Yeah.
It's going to be like we're 0-30.
Next Friday is the best show of all time if I have a bringer of rain, Homer, and a Cole lockdown. That's going to be electric. The opposite is going to be deadly. No one else might get a word in beside me and Big Lenny for an hour. But we should have a lot of fun next week. Finally, since the NFL ended.
Next week, so should we do the live while the Mets and Yanks are playing? Because that would be
Friday.
Because that'll be game 2, right?
Friday, the Yankees.
No, the Yankees don't play.
The Yankees have off Friday.
Yeah, we have off Friday. We'll be live while the Mets are on.
I think the Mets play the first. I know because usually they do that. They do that off day in between.
Friday's Apple TV next Friday.
Friday is Apple TV
Apple
day.
TV.
Yeah. That's Bassett's debut, yeah.
How much of, Steve Jobs will be rolling over in his grave if Carrasco is pitching the Apple TV debut because Scherzer couldn't pitch and Bassett's the 1 and Carrasco's the 2. That would be the most comical thing of all. The Apple TV gets Mets cursed.
If Bassett
first broadcast,
look, I love Bassett, but if Bassett's pitching opening day, I will be happy.
Oof. That'll be.
I also want to say, and this is a video clip that will be on Instagram. Before I say this, I will preface it with that. What Brian Cashman said the other day is a pathetic embarrassment.
It is
about the 2017 postseason. It's an absolute embarrassment that our general manager of 25 years went back 5 years to Houston's cheating, where we haven't beaten Houston since anyways, and we've lost in the playoffs every year since, to put blame on why we don't have a World Series and why we haven't been back. That was embarrassing. It was pathetic, and it should never, ever happen again. He should be fired at the end of the season. I don't care if they win the World Series and don't lose a playoff game. I'm done with Cashman after a lot of things, and especially after I saw that. That was absolutely pathetic.
What had prompted him?
I was about to ask.
What
was the scenario that he?
Because someone
they asked him about the World Series drought.
Yeah, how they haven't been to the World Series in over a decade, and he got
he's feeling pressure.
He's
feeling pressure.
I definitely agree with you, KB. I don't even when I saw that, I was like, how is this even real? Like my first response, like in one of our group chats, was like, Jesus Christ, that's so pathetic. And like he may not be wrong, but at the same time, the Yankees did not score enough to win that series. So we'll never know. We'll never know if they would have beat Houston. We'll never know if they would have beat the Dodgers. You just cannot say that. I don't even know how that was real. How that actually happened.
It's not even relevant anymore. Like, it's just not even a topic of conversation.
It's not. It has to become just something that we put in the past. It's ridiculous. I totally agree. I think we would have won the World Series.
Everyone was pissed. I think the Yankees would have won too. But
who's to say that the Dodgers wouldn't have beat us the next round? They had a better team anyways. We caught fire that year. First year that this team was great. But the bottom line is, first year this team was great. And there's no team since then that I've said is confidently better than the 2017 team. 2019, I think if they went head-to-head in a 7-game series, the 2019 would win, but it would probably be in 7 games because the team was not that much better. Both lost to Houston. Houston got caught for cheating and then went right back to the World Series. So I don't know why we're still – they're just a great team. Their pitching was better. Their lineup has been better in the postseason. They built a better team. They have a real manager for both of those wins, for both periods of time that they've been great. So I don't know. I just was really upset at Cashman for saying that. That's I did not
understandable.
Like.
I would not. I would.
Big Lenny, thoughts on the Cashman?
Oh, I think it's pathetic, but I don't really have much. I don't know. It's whatever.
It's
move
bad.
on and get the season going.
He may not have been wrong, but it is bad, and it's
a win on Thursday. I forget everything.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell that the front office is feeling the pressure because that's not how you usually respond to.
Yeah, he broke. He
made an excuse, and you do not want to make excuses as to why the Yankees
can't as the leader of the best organization.
Just take the answer out of the book and say, I haven't done a good enough job. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
You don't have to believe it.
It's so easy. He doesn't even have to believe it. So easy. Just say
you
it.
can make it. You can make it sound like you don't believe it. Just
one last thing before we end this is Judge. What is going on? Is Judge getting extended before opening day?
He's getting extended on Wednesday. It's just a Lindor situation.
I think one of these days is happening. I don't know.
It seems like it's coming.
I think he's a Yankee for life, but
regardless of what happens this week, I almost don't mind him playing without a contract this year because I think he'll hit 350 with 55 home runs and 128 RBIs, and we'd win the World Series, and then we'd have to give him 40 a year. But who cares? I don't care either way. I think he's going to be back.
Yeah, the only concern I was with him playing is that it gets dicey. If he gets hurt and he's out for the year, then I don't know what you do.
It's just like DeGrom. It's
tough. I don't know what you do. Do you give him will he take a discount? Because somebody probably will still give him like the Giants or maybe
someone will give him the money.
Angels,
the Yankees will value him less than other teams.
They will definitely, And also if he's hurt, we probably will make the playoffs. So
we'll have a lot more on that next week though, because
we'll know by then.
We'll know by then if he's going to be extended now or if he's going to test the market or be extended right after the season ends. So anything else you guys want to touch on quick today? We kind of covered a lot more than we even thought we would.
Yeah.
But that's what we do here.
I'm excited to keep it going. Next week is going to be great.
I think we'll have, or I'll do this week. I'll throw up all of our brackets up on Instagram at GBU Pod. It's a good follow. We're doing the player rankings. We're gonna have a lot of MLB content coming. I'll throw that up so in October we can look back, and when the Blue Jays are out in round one, we can all be like, oh, we're a bunch of idiots. So.
That'll be a fun one next year during well, the Jets are 0-7 and the Giants are 2-5, and Packers are back to we're the best team in the league, but what the hell's going to happen? What the hell's going to happen in January?
It'll be week 9, and we'll be in the same spot. I'll be saying that this year's different, and
but we'll look back to this video and those brackets, and we'll say, "Wow."
We stink.
Well, knowing us, the Braves will not even touch the World Series. Come close to the World Series again, because
I cursed the Padres today, and Bob Melvin, you're done.
You might have. We didn't have the Padres, or Big Lenny had him in. I didn't have him in. Reese, I don't think you had him in, but
who?
I think the Padres in the World Series is fascinating because I didn't have him in the playoffs. It's fascinating though. I don't mind the pick. I think they're a real good roster. It's just something about them and like the Phillies. I don't know.
Yeah,
and then the Mets too. I'm a Mets fan. I probably feel better about the Mets this year than anybody else on earth does, but.
Here we are.
They have such a good roster, and you can make the same argument with the Padres. So, a lot of teams who can get in, a lot of teams who underachieve, and we'll see who gets all the way this year.
All right, make sure to check us out Instagram GBU Pod if you haven't already. I'm sure you have. Check us out Twitter, same handle, and TikTok, the GBU Pod. Going to be releasing more stuff on that. I know we always say that, but one day it'll be true. And we'll see you next week with some actual games to talk about. So thanks for being on, fellas. As always, looking forward to next week.
Peace.